Hey guys, today we're going to have a look at how to express during the time when or while something was happening. So we'll start here, and it's going to depend on whether or not we are using a noun, a place, or a verb. If we're using a noun, we're going to attach the particle no to the noun and finish with our phrase Aida, and sometimes we're also going to attach the particle ni to Aida, and I'll explain that in just a moment. Now, if we're using a place, we're going to follow with ni iru and then Aida. And if we're using a verb, we're going to put it in its te form and follow with iru and then finish with Aida. Now, the word Aida means while or during. So, for example, during the summer holidays, I intend to go to Japan and study. 私は夏休みの間に日本へ行って勉強するつもりです。So let's have a look at this first part here. 夏休みの間に. So we have our noun, which is 夏休み, and it means summer holidays. And then we're going to insert our particle no, and we're going to finish with 間に, during the summer holidays. 夏休みの間に. Now, in our second example, while I am in Japan, I plan to do some part-time work. 私は日本にいる間、アルバイトをする予定です。So again, we can see here that we have a place, and in this case, the place is Japan. So while I am in Japan, 日本にいる間. And in our third example, while Mr. Tanaka was sleeping, that robber entered the house. 田中さんが寝ている間に、その泥棒は家に入りました。So again, in this case, we've got a verb in its te form, 寝ている. And then we've got our word Aida. 寝ている間, while Mr. Tanaka was sleeping. Now, please note that two actions are taking place, but not necessarily by the same person. And the final verb decides the tense of the sentence. So if we go back to our last slide and we look at our last sentence here, we have the verb sleeping, 寝ている, but our tense of the sentence is past tense. 寝ている would suggest that something was happening in the present continuous form or the ing form. 寝ている間, while sleeping. But we can see here that the tense of the whole sentence is dictated by the tense of the final verb here at the end, 入りました. So we can see here that this verb is in its past tense, and therefore we now know that the entire sentence is past tense. Now also note that the choice of Aida or Aida ni depends on the meaning. Aida means that the two actions take place at the same time for the whole period. And Aida ni means that while something was happening, something else happened. So if we go back again to our previous slide, we can see here in our second sentence that we don't use the particle ni after Aida. What we're talking about here are two actions that are occurring at the same time for the whole period, being in Japan and also working part-time, as opposed to the two sentences here where we've inserted the particle ni. So let's take a look at the first sentence. During the summer holidays might go for, let's say, a month. I intend to go to Japan and study. So you might be going to Japan to study for only 1 week of the 4 weeks of the summer holidays. So there are two things that are happening. One's happening at one point in time, and during that point in time, something else is happening as well. Likewise, in our final example, while Mr. Tanaka was sleeping, that robber entered the house. So Mr. Tanaka was already in the state of sleeping, and while he was doing that, something else happened. And therefore, we insert the particle ni to indicate that difference. And finally, when the subject of the part of the sentence that ends with Aida ni is different from the subject of the last part of the sentence, the subject of the Aida sentence must be followed by ga. So let's take a look at a couple of examples here. While my brother was working, I went shopping. 兄が働いている間、私は買い物を していました. The subject of the part of the sentence that ends with Aida in this first example is the brother. So what we've got here is the particle ga after brother, because the subject of this particular part of the sentence is different to the last half of the sentence. The first half of the sentence is the brother. The last half of the sentence is I. Or, 私は兄が働いている間、買い物をしていました. So again, we have the same exact sentence. We've just moved the watashi wa to the start of the sentence and then continued on with the rest of the sentence using the particle ga after brother. We can also see this in action on our first slide again, where we have Mr. Tanaka and a robber in the sentence. So we have again two separate subjects in this one sentence. So we've got here Tanaka-san ga nete iru aida ni. So Tanaka is the subject of the sentence that ends with Aida. And then we finish with that robber entered the house. その泥棒は家に入りました. So that's about all for this topic, but if you have any questions or comments, please let me know.